In this video, we're going to go over the basics of creating a service invoice. Starting service invoicing is in the 400 section of the parts and service menu tree, where you can start a new repair estimate or a new repair order. But first, we want to talk about the service invoicing list of open repair orders. This is the board that the service advisors look at to find out how much work they have and who it's assigned to. The column headings across the top are the document number, which is also another name for the invoice number or RO number, the status of the invoice or RO, and this status is color coded. And we'll go into those color codings in a little bit more in depth as we get into the invoicing. You have the customer name, the advisor. In this case, it will show all ROs regardless of the advisor they're assigned to. Later in this video, we will talk about filtering down to the jobs for a specific advisor. The date promised, a price total, how many jobs are completed, and is there internal work? If so, there will be a checkbox. Is there warranty work on this ticket? If so, there would be a checkbox checked. And then CP is for customer pay. You can put a tag number on an RO, and that's usually a key tag number or a vehicle hat or something that identifies that unit back to this RO. If the customer is waiting, you'll see it highlighted in yellow with the word yes. If it's an internal, there'll be a stock number listed. And then if it's been assigned to a mechanic, you'll see the primary mechanic on the ticket. When you want to drill down and find a specific RO, you can click into the yellow filter bar under the document number. So if you have 100 or so ROs, you can either scroll all the way down to find them or click into the filter and just type RO that you're looking for. Let's say that we're looking for 5480. So when we type in 5480, it drills down to that one RO. To clear that and go back to our search results, we can either backspace the 5480 out or just click on the little erase button. If we're looking for a status type, we type in needs, and we see the ones that here are for needs authorization. The same with customer name. If you start to type in the first few characters of the customer name, it will drill down on it. Here's where we select the advisor. As you can see, we have a combination of advisors being listed on this open board. There are ROs that are assigned to advisors 001 and 008. So if I'm advisor 001, I just have to type in my number, and the list drills down. From number 8, there's my list. And then I can start drilling down further if I had hundreds of invoices to work with. Let's go back to 001, and then we would drill down on Mr. Smith. Now you're going to see these yellow filter bars throughout the system. Another thing that you can do on the yellow filter bar is go to the title or the column heading and just click it. And that sorts everything alphabetically by that column heading. If I wanted to sort the dates, sort dates. And if I click it again, it changes it from newest to oldest. Price is sorted from lowest to highest, and then highest to lowest. So you can see the little arrow key here telling us which way the sort is going to be. Every time that a mechanic completes a job, this screen refreshes and tells you how many jobs are complete. This information of completed job is also fed to your website and to your customer display screen in your waiting room, so that the customers in the waiting room, who are these waiters, can actually see the progress of their RO. To open one of these tickets, you can double click it anywhere on the line, or you can click the Open button. Let's resort these back into document number order. Let's start to create a new repair order. In this video, we're going to go directly to creating a new repair order without creating an appointment or an estimate. The first thing that we're going to need to do is to recall the customer. So in this case, we're going to recall Gary Smith. To find Gary Smith, we start with the last name. Now, I don't have to type the entire last name. If I type in Smith, it may return all the Smiths and somebody like Smith Winsky or Tech Smith, or somewhere where the word Smith is in the last name. But I can drill it farther down by putting a comma and the first name. When I press enter, the computer gives me a list of all of the Gary Smiths I have in the system. Now I have several ways of selecting the one that I want. I can either click on it with my mouse and highlight it, or I can come down here to the row and I can type in the row number that I want, such as 13. But in many cases, when the entity search results appear, the person you're looking for will be the number 1 entry. In that case, just hit your enter key and it will recall that customer. We now have an invoice started and we're ready to enter the complaints of the customer. Once we've taken the complaints by the customer, we can then start to make the decision as who's going to pay for it. In this case here, they're set up as service, retail, or customer pay. But this might be something that's going to be covered under their extended warranty. So we can change it to the extended warranty type. If it's something that is covered under manufacturer's warranty, you can put it under as category M, which is service warranty. So we'll have one job as warranty, and we'll have another job as a service retail. Once you have the complaints by the customer entered in, you can hit the print button and print the customer copy for them to sign, or a mechanic hard copy for them to sign that you'll pass over to the mechanic. Now, Infinity looks at each repair almost like it's its own RO. So as we click on a repair, everything about the repair is brought up in these tabs to the right. For example, we have 2 boxes here. The top one is called the cause, and the second one is called the correction. So these 3 work in conjunction: the complaint, the cause, and the correction. So we're going to put the cause of this right front rattle as hit speed bump, just for an example. And the correction. And so we make them over here and change customer complaint. At this point, we're ready to assign this to a mechanic to do the work. And we may come over here and say how much we are going to charge for this job. We'll put a billable hours that is going to be a 1-hour job, and a payable to the mechanic for 1 hour also. Now this allows you to use a flat rate. But once the job is assigned to the mechanic will come up to the computer and will clock in. So you can see here that mechanic 005 is now clocked in and starting to do work. When they have completed that work, they will clock out. Now you have the ability to override these hours as an administrator or a service advisor. The mechanic cannot type his own hours in, but the computer will if we had more time between the clock in and clock out, it would have calculated the hours for us. But let's say that he worked 0.5 hours. When the payroll is run and he has paid for either 0.5 or the 1 hour if he's on a flat rate, it'll check this box automatically for you as paid. Now the mechanic can say that the job is in process. Or when he clocks out and he's done with the job, he can flag it as being completed. If we click to the second job, roof leak, and we'll call this a manufacturer defect. So we now have the cause and complaint for job number 2. If I switch back and forth, you can see how the information changes here. On job number 2, we're going to assign this to a different mechanic. And we'll put in a billable hours of 2, and we'll pay the mechanic 2 for this job. Okay, so again, as we switch between the two, you can see this job is assigned to mechanic 05. And his flag times, he worked 4.5, and he says he's completed the job. Now, as I completed the job, I got a warning that we did not put any mileage on the unit, and if I want to fix this right now, yes or no. I want to say no because we're going to go back and want to correct it in the right place. And you can see over here, we have some vehicle information that this person is coming in having a Suzuki Equator being fixed. And it's in red here because we did not type in the mileage when this unit came in. So it's 10,000 miles. We'll click off. Now we should be able to go ahead and complete these jobs without any warnings. We're now at a point where mechanic number 8 needs to clock in on the job. So number 8 is clocked in and working on this job, and you can see that it's in process. Now he's out in the bay and he realizes that he needs some materials to fix this leak. So the mechanic types in that he needs a roof patch kit. And he can come over here and change the status to waiting for parts. Go to his flag times and clock out, and can exit the ticket. At this point, you can see a different color on the Service Advisor's listing board. We know that the purple color is telling us that we have mechanics that are waiting for parts. Over in the parts department, there's a screen for your mechanic's window, and they can see that a mechanic has requested that he needs a roof patch kit. So the parts department opens the ticket up, puts the part on, and then they clear the request and take the part out to the mechanic. Before they close the ticket, they reset it back to an invoice. On the mechanic screen and the service advisor screen, that RO is back to a standard invoice status. And the mechanic has the part in hand, so he will again open up the RO, go to the flag times, clock in to finish the job. Now keep in mind that mechanics do not have the security privileges to make any changes other than that they can clock in and out, they can send off parts requests to the parts department, and then they can type in notes about the work they're doing, which replaces the need for them to handwrite their notes on the back of the mechanic's copy. If on this job the mechanic reports back to you that the damage is going to take longer than estimated, you may need to document that and alert the customer. You can enter in what you're going to estimate the new parts total is going to be and the labor total. Next, you can contact the customer either via email or by telephone. If you want to do it by email, you can click the little mail button here and it'll launch the email editor for this customer. And when you get the approval, you can type in who it was approved by. And you now have a permanent record that you got approval from the customer that will stay with the RO. Now, as the mechanic, number 5, is working on the roof leak, he notices that there is an issue with a window that needs to be replaced. And in this case, you're going to call a third-party company to come in and sublet that work out. So you go to the Sublets tab and hit Add a Sublet. You'll find a supplier, and you'll select the supplier that's going to do that work and the cost. At this point, you have the information in that you need to have done for the sublet, and you can click the Order button. When you click the Order button, you're telling the computer that you've already called the sublet and placed an order for them to come out and fix that windshield. Once the sublet company arrives and completes the job, the service advisor inspects the work and makes sure that the job is done, and then just clicks Received, stating that yes, he did receive all of the goods and services that he had subletted out to that company. Down in the parts section, the system records a part number called a sublet. It has the replace window, which is the description that the service advisor had plugged in, and then has the price that was entered in, and also records the cost. So once the service advisor enters the sublet in, he just has to order it, inspect it, and click Receive, and the computer handles everything else. This transaction will create an accounts payable in the accounting department, and they will be able to see that yes, because you clicked the Receive button, that work was done and completed to your satisfaction. If you'd like to print a copy of that sublet order, just click the Print button. If at any time you want more information about the vehicle, click the Vehicle tab. You'll see the year, make, model, serial numbers. You'll also see insurance information, and this insurance information will be populated from the actual deal if the vehicle was sold to this customer by your dealership. It will have the manufacturer's warranty terms, and if an extended warranty was sold in the F&I department, that information will be populated on this box also. You can click to view or modify the unit, but if you make the changes on the View Modify unit, this screen will not update until you exit the RO and then reopen it, and it will refresh the screen. The Scheduling tab is where you can actually pre-schedule work for your mechanics. We'll go into this in more detail in the advanced section of the videos. As you click through the jobs, you can see that the system has updated the screens automatically from the flag times. On Mechanic 5, on Job 1, his actual time was 0.5 hours, and you're going to pay him 0.5 hours. Mechanic number 2, so far, has only clocked 0.1 hour. But on his time clock program, it's possible he's ready to clock in again, start working, and these hours will update as he does his work and clocks in and out on the job. Now, as you can see, I have to click each individual job to be able to read the information associated with each one of them on their tabs. If I want to get a look at the entire RO, click the Review button in the far right. And this brings up every piece of information about the RO. You can see the cause, you can see the complaint, cause, and corrections. You see descriptions of parts, and then you have a summary of all of the totals. At the bottom of the screen, you get information about the parts, which is mainly for the parts manager as they are adding parts to your ticket. Then you have the totals section, and this shows you the RO totals. You can click on customer pay. That gives you the customer pay breakdown, the warranty breakdown, and the internal breakdown. And then you have additional info, and this is where you could pre-authorize a person's credit card. So if you've estimated the bill to be at $500, you can run a pre-authorization on their credit card and tie that money up. At the bottom of the screen, you have command buttons, and each one has a different function. The close button means that this invoice is now closed and all of the jobs have been completed. There are three phases of an RO. You have the RO when it's in its open state, which means work is still being done. You have an RO in a closed state, which means all of the jobs are completed, but the customer hasn't come to pick it up and to pay for it. And then you have a status of cashed out, which means the customer has come, paid you for the RO, and left with their vehicle. So when all of these jobs are completed, and as the service advisor reviews it and says it's good to be closed out, you can click the close button, and that moves this invoice over to the cashier's window to wait for payment by the customer. In some shops, the service advisor will actually take the money from the customer, and in that case, he can click the cash out button, and that would take you to the cash out screen where you'd select the type of payment. We'll go to that further in a future video. Ordering parts, or when you need special order parts, and this is discussed in the parts videos for your parts managers, but they will add parts to your RO in the same manner they'll add parts to a parts ticket and use the ordering functionality in the same manner. If you want to see all the parts listed on the RO, click all parts. Normally, when this is not clicked, you will only see the parts on a per job basis. So I'm on line 2 and I see repair 2 and the job's parts that are assigned to that job. And line 3 is the sublet. If your dealership allows the service department to give discounts, they can click the discount button and type in a percentage. The system allows you to type in a percentage on the parts, or you can type in a percentage to discount. Search parts allows your parts manager, who's adding parts to the ticket, to find parts and add them to the RO. Price list, again, is for your parts manager to look up parts out of a price book and add those to the RO. Canned jobs allows the service advisor to add a job to a ticket that would already have the parts and labor assigned. In this case here, we added an oil change, and you can see that on lines 4 for job 4, we have an oil filter and the oil of 5 quarts that are going to be sold. And we'll go ahead and relieve that. If you want to see all of the flag time punch hours, click the hours button, and it will list all of the mechanics that are on this ticket and what their hours are. And you can make adjustments on this screen. The system automatically calculates shop supplies based on your settings and your company information. But if for some reason you want to override that, click the supplies button, and you can click override shop supplies and put the amount that you want to have in there. And you can see it changed it to 25, which is what I entered. If this is a large job and you want to take a deposit on it, click the deposit button, type in the amount of the deposit. You can add comments if you like. And you can either take the cash right there at the service desk, or you can send the deposit over to the cashier, and on her screen, a new transaction will appear where she can ask the customer for the money and ring it up through her register. Since all modules of Infinity are connected to the CRM and entity database, you can add notes directly to this customer. So you can hit OK, and that message is now attached to that entity's record, where if anybody in the dealership were to recall that customer, they would see the notes that the service advisor has entered. At this point in time, you can click the print button and select which copy you'd like to print and send. You can also email a copy to a customer. You can click print to screen. It'll bring the invoice up on the screen. Clicking customer copy with print to screen will bring up a copy of the RO, and you can see that the RO is barcoded. If you have the printed copy of the RO in your hand, some advisors will have a barcode reader at their terminal, so they don't even have to type the number in or even look the RO up. All they have to do is scan this barcode and it immediately recalls the RO for them. Let's go ahead and clock this mechanic out and complete this job. The oil change we will complete for demonstration purposes. And at this point in time, we have all of the information ready to go. The service advisor can review it and go ahead and close the ticket out and send it over to the cashier. A few other helpful features are the history file. Let's take a look at Gary Smith's history. 3 units that we have worked on, and down here we see all of the history and repairs that we have done for Mr. Smith. We have buttons that can show the history by unit. We can have it expand all the rows, or we can collapse all the rows. Here's all the history in a more concise manner, and then when we find the RO that we're looking for, click the expansion icon and see the work that was done. If the customer is waiting, click the customer waiting checkbox. We will then exit this RO, and you'll see that Gary Smith is now flagged as a waiter, and on your service customer display screen in your waiting room, he will start to see that 3 of the 4 jobs have now been completed on his RO. Let's go ahead and complete sublet. And let's take a look at job 1. As you notice that we selected that job 1 is going to be a service warranty work. That now causes the system to display a tab down near the Info tab called Warranty. And this is where you'll type in the claim number. We can see that the warranty company is going to be Pleasureway here. There's no deductible. And once we have the information about the claim entered, all we need to do is click the fact that it is prepared and submitted. The difference between prepared and submitted is if you're connected with electronic communications to the manufacturer, you would be able to click prepared, and the computer on a timer would pick up all of the prepared claims and submit them automatically for you. Since we are not connected to the manufacturer at this time, we will manually tell the computer that we are submitting it. We are now ready to close out this RO. Hit the close button. It says yes, we do want to close it. The RO is now in a closed status and the color changes. And we'll go ahead and close this out, and we'll jump over to the cashier screen, and you can see the RO total right here, waiting for the customer to come in and pay for the work that was done and take his vehicle. When the customer shows up, the cashier clicks the open, takes the money or rings up the credit card through the computer system, and we'll just print the receipt for the customer, and the customer takes the vehicle and drives off the lot. Let's go back and do an internal work order. Start a new work order. We want to click Apply Internal, which automatically picks up the dealership, demo work, and then we have to select the stock number that we're going to use. We can bring up the units. We can type in the stock number if we know it, or we can scroll down till we find the unit that we want. And you can fill in the information. It automatically defaults to a K, which is internal service work. And we can do the job as normal, and the sales department will get charged for the work that is being done since it's an internal type K. We also have policy work. When you do a policy charge, the computer needs to know what GL account you're going to charge that off to. You may have more than one account, so you can use the selection list to pick it up, or maybe there's just one service goodwill. And then the system will ask you for comments so that later on upper management can come in and find out why this was charged to goodwill. The system also has the ability to update the vehicle inventory with an internal estimate. As you see here, I've got a demo internal, and over here in orange is a place for me to put in an estimate of what this is going to be. Now, when I exit this RO, the sales department is going to see on this vehicle, if they were to pull it up, a $100 service estimate charge. When you finish this ticket and close it out, whatever the final amount is, let's say that it's $70, the accounting system will go out and remove the service estimate of $100 and replace it with the actual cost of the RO. This feature keeps your vehicle inventory as close to true costs as possible, even before the work has been completed and posted to accounting.